Definitely is a pleasure to be with you all this afternoon. I first want to just go through a few things on the state of the industry and just be able to have a little bit of dialogue. If you have any comments, you can definitely put in the Q&A box before I pass it along to our educator with the Tricology class. This has been an interesting journey being in the haircare industry. We are approaching our 19th anniversary here with Influence Haircare Products. I can't believe how much we've had to pivot over this 19-year journey, but it's been rather an humbling experience. As an entrepreneur, I'm sure we all have had that, make sure that we've had to pivot along our journey. One of the things that with 19 years, one of the things I got into the business at 19 years old. And so this is one of the things why I got into the business, because it was recession proof. Ironically, I was laid off at 18 years old. And then while I was in college, this is the career path I chose with Dudley Products. However, just knowing that this is what I wanted to do, I realized that this industry, one of the major reasons why I chose this industry is because it was recession proof. In this industry, you don't lay yourself off, you don't get laid off, you lay yourself off. And so I commend you guys for being on this class today, because you're committed to making sure that you can stay relevant out here in the marketplace, and you do the necessary things in order to not lay yourself off, but be competitive out here in the marketplace. So we know one thing about being an entrepreneur, that it will test your will, your desire, your commitment, and your passion to what it is that you do. Am I correct? Now, the ironic thing is, and you all can type in the QA box facts on this, the ironic thing is, when you sit there and you think about what you have to do as far as your craft is concerned, the things you have to learn as far as color, the study of the hair and scalp conditions, is one thing. But then to also have to understand business concepts and business philosophies, that's something that's really difficult to be able to understand. That's something that you really have to face your fears on. But it's one that if you do face, if you don't face, it will drain you of your passion. And that's something that you have to make sure that you stay abreast on, to making sure, am I doing the necessary things behind the scenes so I don't get frustrated with my skill set, let alone having to stay on top of color correction and things of that nature. But when it comes to just knowing my numbers, and so I don't have to look into getting a part-time job. Because when your passion starts running out and you don't know where your numbers lie, the first thing you want to do is start bringing in some additional revenue, as opposed to seeing, how can I make this work by taking on another stream of income by simply retailing, by getting educated on a particular product that is salon exclusive. Even in this day and time, one of the things that have changed from COVID and prior to COVID is that things are becoming more and more over the counter and not accessible to the professional cosmetologist on a professional level. And so that's some of the things I just want us to be able to think about, are the things that have just changed since COVID. I think about some of the changes when we start talking about evolution. I think about when we started in 06, with the level of excitement that I had. But right after the company got started in 06, there was a natural wave that started coming. And so my first thoughts was that it was going to blow over. This wasn't going to last long. Okay. Then when you fast forward 19 years later, 80% of our products are natural. And so one of the things that you realize is that you hope things blow over that you're not prepared for. And so that's what we have to make sure that we do. So we have to sit there and look and adapt to certain things, such as like being on this virtual call. We know that you all are accustomed to being in person, but I commend you for making the adjustment and coming in on this virtual class, because it lets you know the level of commitment that you have. And as you make adjustments in your business, it's easier for you to make adjustments in your business and for your customers to come along with you when you're doing the same thing, when you're making necessary adjustments that you may not necessarily like, but it's necessary for you in order for you to stay relevant out here in the marketplace and be able to compete. So just think about and just write down some of the things that you think have changed over the time since COVID for the past 5 years. And so I'm going to address some of those things and making sure that we do tackle some of our fears, because when I sit back and look at how we've had to make the necessary adjustments, I'm so grateful that we manufacture our own products and how we're able to stay abreast on top of our research and development and some of the things that we're continuing to improve and enhance. But some of the things, when you sit back and you look at it, I'm sure you've seen some products that are not in their original packaging. And so these are some of the things that you will see constantly you've seen since COVID, and you will continue to see because of the nature of the industry and the lead times when it comes to raw materials, when it comes to packaging. One of the guarantees that I always like to give to our loyal customer base is the fact that what may change, the packaging may change, but what's on the inside will not change. We want to make sure we uphold the quality. We don't want you thinking and hoping that you'll get the same results, hoping you'll get the same results that you've been getting, whether it's the foam, whether it's a relaxer, whatever the case may be. We are definitely holding our level of commitment to our mission statement, making sure that we keep maintaining the level of quality and that you guys get the results that you definitely desire. And on top of that, we want to make sure that you guys take advantage of being able to retail. I cannot speak highly enough about that, on making sure that you really take advantage of retailing and ask yourself, what effort am I really giving myself to really make retailing a focal point? What does my inventory levels look like? Should I really have to rely on my sales consultant to come around every week, especially during a day and time where sales consultants have become obsolete out there in the marketplace? And so look at exactly what's transpiring. How about us really taking our business and really organizing our business to a point where you know your inventory levels, and your goal is to be able to grow your inventory and not to be able to operate on JIT, which is just in time. And so this is going to be extremely critical, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to misallocate that money when you don't tie it up in your business. And so that's a whole nother class that I definitely will go more into detail with. But I want us to just think about some of the things that we can do to recommit ourselves to the industry, and ask yourself, if you have another job, ask yourself the question, why? And then as you know, there's so many different things that you want to continue to ask yourself, because when you came out of beauty school, you had a certain level of passion and commitment and excitement that you had about yourself when it comes to coming to work. And so think about where you are, where your level of commitment is as it pertains to the industry, and think about how much things have changed and the necessary things and the things that you have done in order to remain relevant. One of the things that I've noticed out here in the marketplace is that the classes are becoming few and far between, and especially trade shows. And one of the things that we have with our mission statement is not just remaining salon exclusive, but also making sure that we educate the masses, to making sure they understand the do's and don'ts out here in the marketplace, and the necessary things that you guys need to do in order to pivot behind the chair and remain relevant, and preventing to get that second or third income outside of the hair care business. And so what we have is our symposium, our National Educational Symposium. We changed the date on it. Normally it's in April, but of course this year we're going to be consistent with it. We want to make sure we're going to keep it in September. This year it's going to be September 20th through the 23rd. Saturday, the 20th is a Saturday in which you simply register. But in this class, ladies and gentlemen, it's just showing you our level of commitment that we have to the industry, to just making sure you guys stay relevant and that we can win together as a cohesive unit. It's imperative that you sit there and you plan for this date and make sure that you take the classes that's necessary that will help you face your fears. I notice a lot of times that when it comes to social media, when it comes to certain demographics, we're fearful of the social media realm. And we don't really try and learn it, hoping, because we have a clientele base that that we rely on, that's very consistent. However, In order to evolve, it's important that you grasp and that you embrace social media. This is one of the highly recommended classes that I would suggest at the symposium, along with some business classes such as the retail class. The retail class, just making sure you have no idea how much retail individuals you have the opportunity to retail. When I sit back and I look at these individuals that are simply right here local in our area within a 15-mile radius, 3 or 4 top 4 individuals right around here that retail over $100,000 in product, it's really humbling because even though our store is here, they keep a full stock retail. Their retail rack is fully loaded. Their customers are getting everything from them. Ask yourself, are you taking advantage of our marketing concept by investing in retail, but making sure your back bar is consistent with your retail? It's okay if you're not. Today can be new beginnings, but you have to start somewhere. And I challenge you guys to be able to start tomorrow by just simply looking at your back bar, seeing, just getting some consistency about it. Consistency on your back bar will lead to consistency on your retail rack, and it would also allow you to, when you come to something like the NES, it will give you the opportunity to really be educated on the products, the concepts, and so many different and so many other classes, such as the blonding class. I teach the standing on business class, which is going to be imperative to really minimize your fears from behind the chair. Ladies and gentlemen, with these tariffs and everything that's taking place out here, we have to be able to maneuver as entrepreneurs and see exactly how do we counter and the impact that tariffs have on us. When I was just watching TV the other morning, I was just going through the channels, and from each channel simply talked about tariffs and the impact that it was going to have on the economy. So what are we going to do as entrepreneurs to make sure that we set our prices accordingly? You know, when you have increased prices in product or things of that nature, because I'm hearing that some individuals haven't had a price increase from COVID. And so this is some of the things you just constantly want to be able to look at, and look at your pricing, look at your hours of operation, look at the classes that you come and the education that you get, but also look at the brand of products that you see, because when a customer sees consistency behind your back bar, it builds confidence and it lets them know that you're knowledgeable about what it is that you're using. So it sends so many subliminal messages to you that you want to be consistent on. But just knowing how do we adapt to tariffs. You've seen how we have eliminated different sizes when it comes to certain products. We're in the process of eliminating and discontinuing certain items, but it's all going to make sense to you all because we're also researching and developing new items, but there's no need to having one product in 3 different sizes in a day's time. And so we're having to be strategic on what we eliminate, just like you guys have to be strategic on what services you offer, your price points and things of that nature. It's really a mirror situation where we all have to do the same thing. So as you see different things continue to be discontinued, you also see some new and improved items as well to make your job a lot easier from behind the chair. So our level of commitment has never been stronger than it has been today and moving forward. I challenge you guys to, it's over 14 classes for the symposium. It's $229 for the 2-day weekend. We'll have the flyers and all the information out for you probably in the next 3 weeks on a digital level to make sure that you understand and you can make your reservations with the hotels and everything. It's imperative that we shop around and make sure that the hotels are giving excellent rates so that we respect you all's investment and you can maximize out on your investment. But I just want to just thank you guys for your continuous love and support of Influance Haircare Products, and to the sales consultants out there who have continued to stay true to our mission statement and continue to really just keep the product salon exclusive and to make sure that we educate you all on a high level. And so our level of commitment has never wavered. We're going to continue to stay salon exclusive. The ultimate challenge for you all is to really commit yourself and find your passion once again to make sure that you can take your business to the next level. All right. At this time, no comments. Excellent. It means I did outstanding, and I just want to commend you on my excellent presentation this morning. But I really want to thank you guys really for the love over the years. We cannot be here. We're going on 19 years old, and you're part of the reason why we're there. So thank you guys so very much. So without further ado, we want you guys to give a warm welcome, a virtual round of applause to our educator for this afternoon, Dr. Karen Brace, who is going to be educating you on trichology. Feel free to ask questions. She will guide you along, but please make this is going to be an interactive class. So feel free to ask any questions you have throughout our presentation. So without further ado, let's welcome from Chesapeake, Virginia, let's give it up for Dr. Karen Brace.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you in the crowd inside also. So today I did shorten it down a little because I know that the last time we had a lot of questions still in queue. And also we're going to save some for NES. So I shortened it down. I think it's about 4 scalp disorders. So please ask questions. Please. I like participation. Don't make me call on you. Okay? All right, so please remember to put your questions in the Q&A, and remember we have the save the date for our NES 2025, September 20th through the 23rd. Okay, that's where we're going to get all the extra information. So please come. Okay. All right. Got it. Okay, there we go. All right, so here I am. So this is me, Karen Brace, cosmetologist since '93, an instructor 2008, I think. It's under there. Pharmacy tech in Norfolk State because I wanted to know about hair and medication. Did not want to be a pharmacy technician. I wanted to know what the hair did to, how the hair reacted to medications. My teacher was actually intrigued with what I was doing, and she let me come back this second year for free. She didn't have me register. It was great. It's like church, going, you get a new nugget, right? Phlebotomy in Norfolk State because I wanted to do PRP therapy, which is going to draw blood, spin it in a centrifugal, and take the platelets off the top, inject into the scalp. And that was good for androgenetic alopecia. So I did that when I was working at Virginia Dermatology. I was there for 7 years. I'm board certified trichologist in 2013. Nutritional consultant at Trinity School of Natural Health in 2019, and board certified naturopathic doctor from Trinity School of Natural Health. The governing boards were the AMCA and ANWPB. So why Influance? We have many textures and one solution. When you have one product, just one, it saves so much money. And I know some people have 2 and 3, I understand, and they know that not having 4 and 5 saves money. So when you have one, it really saves you a lot of money. When you know that one product's so good and you can just call it out to your clients and tell them what they need, this works so wonderful. They think you have so much knowledge on the product that you're using. So when we have our retail parties, I explain to my clients why we're choosing different products. And once we start doing that, then they start buying. They know what they're looking for, and they start buying more. It's not even a push. The retail is my booth renter that doesn't talk back, doesn't call in, not late. It pays very well, okay? It's not sold in the beauty supply stores, which is great. We do not have to compete with that. And anyway, products that are in the beauty supply have a lower grade of the goodness of the product. It's always a lower grade. That's something we had to study in trichology, and I didn't know that until we studied it. So one of the products that used to be a professional product went retail, and a client came in and said, I used to use that product and now it doesn't seem the same. And I said, okay, well, how much did you pay for it in the salon? And she said it was $20 for the bottle, but how much was it at Walmart? $12. So do you think they're going to take that great ingredient and sell it to you for the lower price? No, they're going to lower the ingredient. So that's why a lot of the products in the retail store have lower ingredients, because the price point is lower. I did a paper and I had to do 50 ingredients in retail products that cause hair and scalp damage. One of the words I found was so long I can't pronounce it, never learned to pronounce it, but it was banned in China and Japan because it caused birth defects in unborn and it caused dementia in the elderly. We had it in every retail product in Walmart. So this is the difference. This is why I found out now that we have retail and salon professional. And you'll hear products commercials that say salon quality. And you know that's marketing, right? We know that's not true. So we won't have the product in the beauty supply. If you ever see it in there, please call the number here. And that is Mr. Rudy in the middle, going back to a store to get our products because they ordered some product under someone's license. Okay. And so he went in and got it out of the retail stores. So please let us know. We also will not have to worry about, we know that red can, we won't have to worry about something like that. Underneath the red can was something totally different. Okay, so we don't worry. Paul Mitchell actually did a commercial saying we cannot guarantee authenticity if you didn't buy our products from us because people were putting different products in the bottles and selling it in the store. So we don't have to worry about any of that. Okay, so anytime we're going to do the hair, we always want to do an analyzation and consultation. First thing we want to do because we want to get it right. What product we're going to use? How is this person? They need to tell you some things that they might forget. So you have to ask these questions to them. Okay, so we'll go by the acronym of DEP: density, elasticity, porosity, texture, and the history. We go by this, we'll never fail. Every time we get it right. Okay, so the density is how thick or thin the hair is collectively. That's just density. It has nothing to do with the strand, is how many are in that box. That's the density. And this is also very important when you're choosing your relaxers to put in the hair. Not just product, but also the chemicals, the colors to put in the hair. This is very important. The elasticity is the hair's ability to stretch and return without breaking. When it's wet, it's going to stretch about 50%. When it's dry, it's going to stretch about 20%. Okay, so we have the elasticity rated as being low, normal, or high. Whenever we're having a problem with that, we can use the rosemary shampoo to correct elasticity. Also, the honey almond is going to correct elasticity because it has that protein in it. The porosity is the hair's ability to absorb and retain moisture. Okay, let's see that normal closed cuticle, nice and smooth. That's usually how natural hair looks. The next one is porous open cuticle. Sometimes it's medication that'll cause that. Other times it's product that they put up there that's high in alcohol or just the chemical. And the extra porous cuticle, more open and damaged, that's overprocessed. It's not going to hold much. I've actually had a person to put color on, and when I rinsed it, the color went right out in the sink. Their elasticity, it was extra porous. It was bad. Okay. So texture. And for the porosity, if it's a low porosity, you can actually, if it won't sink down in the water, that's how you can test it, by putting it in water. Put a strand of hair in the water. If it's low porosity, it doesn't sink. Sometimes it's coatings up there. So you want to use a deep cleansing shampoo to pull that off. It'll remove all that residual buildup up there. The extra porous one, we want to use the Proplex Reconstructor to build the cuticle back up. So we have something in line every time. So the texture, that's the thin, medium, and coarse of the strand of hair. Now we're getting into the strands. So most of the time, the coarse textures are always more open. So the coarse textures, you'll notice, will absorb quicker, especially for color. It'll absorb it quicker. So that would have you determine which developer you're going to use for that hair. If you run your finger down a strand of coarse hair, you're going to feel it bump, bump, bump. That's how you'll know that that texture is open. The history of the hair. What have you been doing to it? That's basically what we want to know. Is your scalp dry and oily? Are you on medication? Very, very important to know about medication, because sometimes the medication and the chemicals do not play fair together. And a lot of times the breakage is going to win. Okay. When's your last chemical service? Color, relaxer, or keratin? Not our keratin system, because now our keratin doesn't have there's no chemical in it. Okay. But the other keratin system have straightening agents in it. And we're going to get to that because I put it up here. When was your last semi-color? That's important for the heat, because sometimes the heat will make that color fade. Okay. How often do you flat iron the hair? What kind of flat iron do they use? What previous products did you use? And how often do you use protein? Because someone come in and ask for protein, it's very important to ask them, when was your last protein treatment? Because if they just had one, they won't tell you, because if their hair is breaking, they'll think, I need another protein, but too much protein can break the hair. What kind of styling implements do you use? Okay. Don't forget to put your questions in the Q&A. And if you all have any questions, please just let me know, right? Just raise your hand, because we got plenty of time. I slowed this one up. Definition of trichology. That's the scientific study of hair loss and scalp disorders from a medical stand. As soon as I wanted to send my client to a dermatologist, I wanted to meet the dermatologist that I would send them to. I wasn't going to send them to anybody. So I called and I met Dr. Johnson, and he asked me to come there work. He didn't have a trichologist, and he knew that that was important. So it was really good. And I worked there for 7 years. He just called me and asked me to come back again. Okay, hair is part of the integumentary system, which is an organ system. So it's actually an extension of an organ. So it's very important. This comes into play. You'll realize it, because if someone's going wrong on the inside, it's going to show on the outside. Okay, because it's part of an organ system. So how hair grows. Now, these things never change. We're going to always see this because it's the same every time. Let's start in a red paragraph, second one. Blood vessels nourish the cells in the hair bulb and deliver hormones that modify hair growth and structures at different times. So it's the blood. What's in the blood? Hydrogen, oxygen, nutrients. Those are the main things. There are other little things in it, but those are the main. Hydrogen is water. Oxygen is the air we breathe. And between the ages of 30 and 70, we lose 50% lung capacity. Nutrients is the food that we eat. Also, if you're taking medication, you're putting medication in the hair. That's why a lot of people lose their hair for medication. Medications are highly acidic, automatically. Second paragraph on the hair shaft. The hair shaft is made up of dead cells that have turned into keratin and bind the material together with small amounts of water. So this is why you don't feel any pain when the hair is being cut, because it's dead cells, but it's constantly growing because it's growing from the root. Right? It's being held together with small amounts of water, because we're saying that one strand of hair, one strand, is actually glued together with water. So when a client say your hair is so dry it's breaking off, this is why. They're not getting the water internal. That's the first thing. Okay. So if we're putting that product up there, that moisturizing up there, and that hair is still breaking, they're not working. The product's working. It's them. So it's a relationship. You got to do it together. We had a question?
Yes, Ms. Karen. First question is, remember it asked, you spoke about color not sticking to porous hair. How can you fix this?
Great question. So we're going to use the Proplex Reconstructor. That's what we're going to do. The Proplex is going to start filling in those gaps and building the hair back up. Afterwards, before we do the color, we're going to use the post-chemical infuser. That's going to also fill in gaps, like filling in potholes in the road and helping with the color to absorb better.
Ms. Karen, I have another question here. She mentioned she has a problem with herself and clients, their hair thinning in the top of their head.
Mm-hmm.
How can she correct that?
Oh, we're going to go right into that. And remember now, this is, it's coming up, but remember, this is Influence. We're not going to go into the medical part, because we don't want to talk medical, because if I say 5, somebody's going to say I said 50. So we're going to talk about what product to use for that. Great question.
All right. And I got one more question, Ms. Karen. Is flat ironing weekly too much heat for natural hair?
Is flat ironing weekly too much heat? Depends on the iron and the temperature of the heat. Right? Because I do have clients that come in weekly that are natural, and when I shampoo them, their hair pops right back to their curl pattern. If you're using a cheap iron, I hate to say it, but it is a cheap iron, or if you're using one that has the plates and it heats up fast and it's too strong, it's going to do that heat damage. Some people call it heat memory, but at that point it's heat damage, too fast. Okay? All right, so the hair growth cycle, we have the anagen, the catagen, and the telogen stage, and then it returns back to the anagen. So if we're looking at the hair when the hair comes out, if someone says my hair is coming out, and you comb it, take a look at their hair and let's see the end, the tip of it, and see if it's a black bulb or a white bulb. If it's the black bulb, that's the anagen stage. That's the growth stage. It's not supposed to come out. The telogen stage, the white bulb, is when it's supposed to come out, but it's only 80 to 100 strands a day. If they're getting more than normal, then that means something's going on. And the something can be something so minute for one person, but something very specific for another that's strong, because it depends on the immune system. Some people can have strep throat and lose a lot of hair. Some people can have COVID and have no factor whatsoever because the immune system is strong. That's how it works. So even if it's coming out a lot, you need to look at that bulb and see which bulb is it. And we'll take it from there. The medical terminology. Anytime your clients have hair loss, please tell them, if you're sending them to a dermatologist, please tell them to say that they have alopecia. Because if you go into a dermatologist's office and say, my hair is coming out, he's going to say you have alopecia. But you just told him that. He used the proper terminology. But if you go in and say, I have alopecia, now he has to tell you what type. Because we want to know what type of alopecia it is. Each alopecia is different. Okay, so that's the proper name for that. Just like hypertension is the proper name for high blood pressure. So they're all medical terminology, but we need to know alopecia. And we also need to know trichoptilosis, which is our split ends. That's ours. We don't use that because we sound like we're going to bite our tongue. Trichoptilosis, that's a lot, right? Yes, sir.
Question, Ms. Karen, what kind of plates on the iron should we be using so that they don't create heat damage?
Okay, the plates on the iron is really going to depend on the person, how you like to use it. My stylist loves Babyliss. I love Chi. So it depends on you and how you can use it. I like the Chi because I know that it's ceramic. It seals the cuticle, so it seals in moisture. It distributes heat evenly, so it doesn't burn the hair. And she likes the Babyliss, especially for the coarse hair. So it depends on you and what you really preference.
All right, next question. Proplex Reconstructor can be used as a protein treatment?
Proplex Reconstructor is a protein treatment. It is a liquid protein, and I'm definitely going to hit on that one.
All right, and last question, Ms. Karen. What products would you say are great to use for elasticity?
For elasticity, we have the rosemary line, which is really good for correcting elasticity, and the honey almond will do it. Okay. Okay, reasons for hair loss. We have poor diet, nutrition, heredity. That's the main one. That's the first one. Hormonal stress, trauma, medical health medication would probably be number 2. Product buildup and mechanical is out here. That means that it's a relaxer, it's a flat iron, it's the braiding too tight, it's one of those, the wig wearing, rubbing the front. The medical health medication will go with the hereditary, because if you have like alopecia, androgenetic alopecia, and you take medication can kick it off and start it. It will start it up. So they go together sometime, but the main one, if you're taking medication and your diet is good, your nutrition, it won't kick off that hereditary factor. So here are some of the common forms of scalp disorders. We have androgenetic alopecia. That's the female male pattern hair loss. The central centrifugal cicatricial alopecia, CCCA, also known as scarring. It's also known as scarring because when it inflames and when it heals in a scar. CCCA looks like androgenetic, except it has a lot of inflammation with it. Just a lot of inflammation. That's the difference. Discoid lupus erythematosus, alopecia areata. And alopecia areata is the circle spots. I don't have this one up here, but I do want to say this. Alopecia areata then goes into alopecia totalis, which is the whole head. And I'm seeing a lot of that now. That's why that's going to be next. I have to put on things that I want y'all to see the most. You're going to see the most in the salon. That's one of the ones that I'm seeing quite a bit now is alopecia totalis. Alopecia universalis is the whole body. Okay. Trichorexis nodosa, traction alopecia, frontal fibrosing alopecia, and seborrheic dermatitis. So let's look at some of the common forms, scalp disorders, and the products used to combat them. So this is where I've cut it down to just a few. Androgenetic alopecia. This is the one that she's just talking about, androgenetic. So I'm using the rosemary system on that. This is the front of her head, on the picture, what is it? To your right, 2019, June 2019, and that's the middle of her head underneath. So it was getting ready to go into the whole top area, the crown area. But I had to go in and find out what was going on with her because we have to know what's going on to combat it. So your job would be to try to keep the follicles open and stimulated while we're trying to work on the internal. So as I found out, she had a thyroid condition. Once we got her thyroid correct, and I use herbs, of course, her hair started coming back. There it is, June, July, August, October, all the way across. There's the front, and at the bottom, there's the middle. Yes, question. Go, great question. How often was she coming in for treatment? She came in, now this is, she came in every 2 weeks to get her hair done. She says she didn't have money for treatment, so I didn't do treatments. Only thing I did was shampoo with the rosemary, condition, make sure I didn't get on her scalp, spray the rosemary spray, and put her up in goddess sprays. And her hair grew back in. Oh, when I say rosemary, was I referring to carbon or the original, the OG? It was the OG. Because that's when I started with her. The rosemary, the carbon wasn't out yet. So the rosemary, the OG, that's the original. I love that one. It's very stimulating, and it has white willow bark, which is going to exfoliate her scalp without me using any salt and sugar scrubs. It has lemongrass in the spray, which is going to strengthen the follicle. It has the natural peppermint, the menthol, the eucalyptus. All of these are stimulators. The rosemary, all of those are natural anti-inflammatories and stimulators. So that helped with everything on the external. I just had to get her right on the internal. Now I can use that rosemary carbon on her also. The carbon is going to be a great detoxer because carbon is from charcoal. It detoxes. Anytime you have charcoal, you're going to detox. So that's a great thing for whatever else is going on because she was taking a Synthroid, the thyroid medication. So I wanted to get it out of her hair. And I used that one. I use that now, but her hair stays there. Yes, sir.
Question, Miss Karen. Did you charge her extra for using the rosemary system?
Did I charge her extra for using? No, because I didn't do anything extra. I just did regular shampoo, blow dry, and styling.
All right, next question. How long was it before you began to see her hair growing back after using these products?
She came in May, and she had an afro. I cut an afro. And when she came back in June, that's what she looks like. So then in July, there it is, her hair. You can see the hair growing back in. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. You had a question. Right. Mm-hmm. Great question. She said that she noticed, I said, don't put the conditioner on the scalp, but the new conditioners has DHT blockers. The conditioners are made for hair, not for skin, right? So it's going to clog the skin. It look like dandruff sometime if you don't get it all out. And conditioners grab skin. So it's not like you're not actually getting it out, but if you rub it in, it can sink into the cuticle very nicely of the skin. So with the DHT blockers, we're just basically surrounding everything. I want a DHT in everything. I want DHT in product. I don't even care if I'm not putting on your scalp. On a hair strand, or just putting it in there. It just gives me a sense of security for actually growing the hair and stopping that DHT blocking. So even with the conditioners being stimulated, you don't put on the scalp, we're invigorating the hair strands. Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. How would I suggest you do what? Treatment. Okay, so she said she's total alopecia. How do I suggest she use a treatment? No conditioner. Just use the shampoo and the rosemary drops. With the drops feeling like silk in there, have you all tried the rosemary growths feeling like silk? It's going to feel like a conditioner on your skin, like the growth cream feels like lotion to your scalp. That's what it's going to feel like. So use that. And we also have the scalp therapy if you want it, if it dries, then you can use something. Scalp therapy has candelilla wax. It's a paraffin wax. So it's good for your skin. It doesn't clog it. It's very thin. If you put it on, really thin. A little bit goes a long way. So that's the rosemary scalp therapy. So anytime anyone says they're dry, I can use that one. I can use the CBD drops, but the scalp therapy is going to be the first one because it has more oil to it. Great question. Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Karen, next question is it safe to use the rosemary product on a client with scalp eczema?
So is it safe to use it on eczema? Yes, it is. It's not safe to use it on seborrheic dermatitis, but you can use it on eczema and you can use it on psoriasis, but not seborrheic.
Right.
And we'll get into that.
Next question, did the client shampoo at home as well?
This client here, did she shampoo at home? No, she did not. She come in with the same braids in 2 weeks.
And one more question here, Ms. Karen. Would the sea moss line benefit with hair loss as well?
The sea moss does benefit with hair loss. I do have some sea moss up here, but the sea moss is also a detoxer because sea moss is a detoxer of the ocean. It pulls heavy metal. And we have a lot of people with heavy metal overload. It's one of the causes of frontal fibrosis and alopecia. Okay, so that's a heavy metal overload. And I actually have that one up here. Okay. So here's our rosemary line that I used up there. There's the rosemary mint scalp therapy, the stimulating spray and the shampoo and the conditioner. That is my baby. Okay. But my favorite thing in the line is the deep cleansing shampoo because it starts everything. It just removes everything. It's the start of every treatment, anything I need. I just want a clean slate, especially when people come in there and they have got that warrior on their head, that black castor oil. Deep cleanser is going to take that off. Okay. So the rosemary system is also good for crochet braids, wigs, cornrows, locks, your muscles, your feet hurt. It's good for all of that. It is really good, especially I rub it on my muscles and heartbeat in my neck. When I'm in the shop, I'll rub it in there. Okay, so here's frontal fibrosing alopecia. This is different from traction alopecia. Okay, traction is coming from pulling, too much braiding, rubbing, from the wig wearing. You notice that with traction, they'll have little hairs around the edges. There are no hairs here. It's clean. That's frontal fibrosing. It's more medical. This isn't from the outside. This is more medical. So frontal fibrosing, also you'll recognize it because you can lose the eyebrows and the eyelashes. When I followed the etiology of this disorder, I had to I'm thinking, well, if I think that is this, now I've been dermatology conferences and they always say, we just need more study on this. That's the only thing they have. They said it came out in 1996. We need more study. That's all we got. So I kind of followed the etiology and I was like, okay, so if I think it's this, then I'm going to grab the deep cleanse shampoo and try something. I just had to try. Okay. So here's me trying. And they can't get hair to grow back with the steroid injection. But I got those little hairs to grow back with the deep cleanse shampoo. When I sent the pictures to the dermatologist that I worked for and told him, look, I got some hairs to grow back. He called me and said, how did you do that? Because they can't get hairs to grow back. So I told him I had been studying and I just wanted to know if it would work, and it worked. So a statement was made to me recently that, because what's in the deep cleanser is ethylene and citric acid. Those are chelators. So chelators go in and remove. I was looking for chelators in our line and there it was. So I went in and used that and I put in, not even a treatment. This is what I did. Shampooed the hair and I shampoo where the hair is supposed to be, where those little hairs are, where the hair comes out. I shampoo that where it's supposed to be with the deep cleansing shampoo. Rinse it all down. I put the deep cleanser back where the hair is supposed to be, and the second shampoo was stimulating shampoo. Not on top of the deep cleanser, just in the hair, because our stimulation is so strong that it's going to radiate that stimulation to the front, while the deep cleanser is actually chelating. So I left it up there. I rinsed the rosemary out, but I left that deep cleanser up there all the way throughout. Put the conditioner on. The deep cleanser is still on the hairline. Put the conditioner and I steamed the conditioner for 5 minutes and rinse. They come here every 2 weeks and I got hair to grow just from that. So if I had more EDTA, the ethylene or the citric acid, I probably would have gotten a lot more hair to grow. So someone said the EDTA and the citric, it's at the end of the ingredients. Okay. I never said it needs to be 10, 20, 30 ounces, formula, pounds, nothing. I never said it. I just said I looked for those ingredients and there they were. And there's the hair. So what does it matter how much is in there? It actually worked. Do y'all get that? Right? Yes, sir.
All right, Miss Karen, I got quite a few questions here for you.
Okay.
You got the audience excited.
They buzzing? Okay.
All right. Can your products be used on all types of hair?
Oh, yes. Yes. You can use this product on all types of hair. And when I have to say this, when I put the rosemary on European Americans, they are like, whoa, this is amazing. So because they're used to using the other one, the PM other one, and it's not strong like ours.
Next question. How often do you use the rosemary growth drops, or how often can you use the rosemary growth drops?
You can use those rosemary growth drops, I can say 2 to 3 times a day if you want to. Okay. Depending on the density of the hair, you don't want to look like a cat licked it, it depends on you. But you can use it quite often. It's not going to build up.
All right, next question. A person who has a thyroid condition and numbers are out of control, would you recommend the rosemary products? Or would they need something else with biotin in it?
You can definitely use the rosemary. That's what the client had. She had a thyroid condition. As soon as she stopped her meds, hair was just coming out. So you can definitely use the rosemary for that thyroid condition. And you can use biotin if you would like. Biotin is a strengthener. It's a hair strengthener. Okay. It's not necessarily much of a grower. It's more of a strengthener.
All right, next question. A stylist says they give massages to their clients at the bowl. Are you saying do not massage conditioners in?
Correct. Do not massage conditioner into the scalp. It's going to look like dandruff, especially if it builds up over time.
Next question. I have a stylist that shares they have the Proplex Reconstructor and they have used it on clients and the hair sometimes feels worse afterwards. Do you think it would be because of the porosity or the hair type, or would they use another product?
So the Proplex Reconstructor is protein, and after the Proplex Reconstructor, you're supposed to follow up with a moisturizing conditioner, which is our hydrating conditioner. And we're going to get onto that. I'm going to definitely go into that. Yes, ma'am.
For the European American, am I to use, or should you use the OG rosemary or the carbon? Because my clients that I have, they enjoy the carbon because they say it feels like a peppermint patty on their head.
Yes.
And one client did say it was a little too intense, so I had to go back to the OG. But that client was both African American and European American. So what would you recommend on 1 to 3 level of hair textures? What would you recommend as far as the OG or the new one, the carbon?
So her question was, which rosemary would I recommend for European Americans? It depends on them. It depends on how they feel. Just like she told you, one was too strong, go back to the other one. It just depends on them. Yeah. And I've actually mixed the two because I noticed that the carbon gives me that nice cool sensation, but the rosemary OG gives me that stimulating. So I've been putting it together just to get two. Yes, ma'am.
What was the time frame for hair growth on that one, the deep cleanse?
What was the time frame on this frontal fibrosis growing? So her hair started growing in at about, I want to say, about 8 to 12 weeks, I started seeing the hair growing in. That hair came back out, and I said, tell me what you did at home. Because she said, my hair came out. And so we went over it, and I found out what she did at home. And we did it again. We grew it back again. It actually worked again. And so this is my second one. That's another person. That's a different lady. And I used the sea moss with her because the sea moss just came out. So the first one, I just used our deep cleanser, and I used the rosemary and the rosemary spray. With this one, I used the sea moss and the rosemary with the rosemary spray and some of the CBD drops. And I still got growth. So it just showed me that it was growing either way. It was growing. The good thing about the CBD drop, CBD is a concentrated vitamin E. So I read an article about CBD, and they had a 95% growth rate for people who use CBD versus ones who didn't. Because CBD, with it being concentrated vitamin E, vitamin E is great for your capillaries. Whether you're intaking it or not, that's what it does. It's for your capillaries, and it also vitamin E keeps you from clotting. So vitamin E is very important. So it's good for your capillaries, and your capillaries bring blood, and the blood grows hair. So that's how it works so good. So here is seborrheic dermatitis. It's a common inflammatory scalp condition that causes flaky, oily scales and redness. It typically affects areas of the body that have high concentration of sebaceous glands, such as the scalp, face, chest, and back. It is a Malassezia yeast. It's a yeast. When we have yeast in the groin area, it's Candida yeast. So it's a yeast. That means that there's yeast in the body. That's what this is. So you see the sebaceous glands there are pumping the sebum up to the scalp. If it's pumping oil, sebum is the oil, then we know we don't put oil on top of seborrheic dermatitis. You'll clog it. You clog it more. It'll look worse. If it's pumping the oils faster, everyone's oil glands are pumping at a normal rate. This one, seborrheic dermatitis, it pumps faster, so it's pushing skin up, keeps pushing it up. That's why you keep seeing all those flakes. And being that it's a yeast and oil, it starts smelling. So you can tell the difference. You'll know that this one's more of a yeasty. Okay, so you don't put oil on top of that. You're going to clog the pores. You don't put rosemary on it because the oil glands are already pumping faster. It feels really good when you put the rosemary on because rosemary takes down inflammation because it's inflammation under there, and it feels cooling. But the next day, it's pumping crazy, and they'll tell you my head is itching more because it pumps more because our rosemary keeps stimulating. It keeps stimulating. Even if you don't feel that big burst of stimulation, it's still stimulating that scalp. Yes, sir.
All right, Miss Karen, do you recommend conditioning locks?
I do recommend conditioning locks. I don't like my locks dry, but I use our honey almond leave-in and I steam that in. That's how I condition a lock because I like to leave it in. If you put the thicker conditioner on locks, sometimes you squeeze the locks, you're going to get that conditioner coming out. So the honey almond leave-in is really good for moisturizing locks.
All right, next question. Are you saying that Influence products have DHT blockers in them?
Yes, I am. And I have a list of which I love. So yes.
Next question. Do you recommend utilizing the rosemary growth drops for massage purposes?
Oh, yes. Just like the rosemary spray. Yes, definitely.
All right, I got a couple more and then we'll be good.
Okay.
How often should you use the protein treatment?
The Proplex Reconstructor should be every 6 to 8 weeks as regular maintenance. Now, if I have a certain type of breakage, I've used that Proplex. They came in and I used it. They come back in 2 weeks and I used it. They came back in 2 weeks and I used it, and I stopped there because it was very detrimental breaking. So I had to, tailor it to what I needed.
After the Proplex, can you put the client under the dryer with a conditioner or should they sit at the bowl?
You can definitely put them under the dryer. It's just the cuticle. What the dryer does is opens up the cuticle layer. The heat opens up the cuticle. You just had the heat open with the Proplex Reconstructor. You can put that up there and put them right back under the dryer if you like.
Beautiful. Is it possible to reverse androgenetic alopecia through treatments?
Yes. You saw that first one lady up there? That is androgenetic.
And last question, Ms. Karen, what can I do for my lock clients that have experienced hair loss and they aren't shampooing as often as they should?
You can preach from the mountains to shampoo if you need to. If they don't, then save it for the next person. Because I have actually had that so many times. And then when they say their hair's coming out and I say, are you surprised? I told you what from the beginning. And we reiterate and I let them say what I said and said, there you go. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, question.
Seborrheic dermatitis, you had shown that I have a lot of clients that have that. But what would you recommend for treatment?
There we go.
Because I have clients coming in now with the scalp is very much inflamed, then it's that a lot of that buildup.
Mm-hmm. So the seborrheic dermatitis. So we all know that her question is what would I use recommend for this treatment. So we all see that. We want to reiterate what it is, right? The oil glands are pumping. We don't want to put oil over top of it. We don't want to scratch it because if we scratch it, the hair germ actually forms on the dermis layer. So if you scratch it and it has a sore under it, you just made a scab, hair won't grow back. This is how a lot of people lose their hair with seborrheic dermatitis, right? Okay, so see the red spot on her scalp? So we're going to take the scalp and skin antiseptic and spray on her scalp. When we spray that on, you can steam it for 5 minutes. After you steam it, now we're going to take the deep cleansing shampoo and put it with an applicator brush in a bowl and put it directly over top of this the scalp and skin antiseptic. See, the scalp and skin antiseptic is going to start healing process. That's the healing of it because it's well-known antiseptic is eucalyptus, and we have eucalyptus in there. It also is going to help kill the fungus. Once you steam that in and you put the deep cleanser up there, the deep cleanser is going to help remove everything in non-abrasive. That's the best thing about it. So we already got scabs there. You see the red there. We know that's there. So we don't want to do any more abrasiveness to it. Don't scratch it. Don't do all that. So now after we steam that up there, now we're going to rinse it out. First shampoo can be the deep cleanse. The second shampoo can be the sea moss. You can switch it up if you need to. Use the organic shampoo because organic has chamomile, and chamomile is an antifungal, antibacterial property. The cleanser in chamomile is sage. So we got all that natural stuff to help remove it naturally. Sometimes with this disorder, as thick as it is, one treatment isn't going to be enough. And it's very important that you say, okay, now this is built up a lot, so it's not going to come off in one treatment. I need you to come back next week. But the whole thing with this disorder is your gut. If they keep doing the same thing, if nothing changes, nothing changes. You get it? So they keep coming back with the same thing. It's because they're not fixing it. Yeah, the ketoconazole or the fluocinamide. I don't. I mean, okay, so because I worked at the derm office, so I know, and they know, all the patients follow me, so they know. But if they say use the ketoconazole or the fluocinamide, put it onto the scalp, and they tell you the directions will say something like leave it, and you have to incorporate that in your time. So my thing was when I had to incorporate in the time, it's going to cost more because time is money. Correct. It's also going to be rough on the hair because it's made for the scalp. So I'm telling them after you use the one from the doctor, you're going to need a deep conditioner, more money. Okay, that's when you're going to charge more. So you can use it. If they need it, they can use it. It cleanses the scalp. Ours cleanse the scalp. It's the same thing, right? So theirs have more abrasive properties in it. Yeah, even the dermatologist, when I worked there, he used to buy the Influence product for me. He knew he didn't even recommend it. So, yes, ma'am.
With the antiseptic as a scalp treatment before, how long did you say you would leave it on? Oh, and also, am I to put it just on the areas of scabs, or am I to do a full scalp treatment with that? And I'm sorry, and the last part, can this be combined? So can I put it in a bowl and combine it with some of the other things for scalp treatment?
Good question. Okay, so you wanted to know the first one was with it,
How long?
how the time frame of the treatment for the antiseptic.
Yes. With
Okay, so I'm taking the antiseptic and I'm putting in a spray bottle and I'm spraying the entire scalp. I'm parting it just like, relaxer, but I don't want it running, but just like relaxer, and I'm spraying the entire scalp. Okay, then I'm going to steam it about 5 minutes, depending on how thick it is. If it's really thick, I'm going to steam it separately, about 5 minutes in our steamer. Then I'm going to put the deep cleanser in a bowl. Sometimes if the hair is really thick, I'll just add a little bit of water because I want to thin it out. And I'm going to put that directly over top of the antiseptic, right over top of it. And then I'm going to steam it 12 minutes, 12 minutes total. When they come out and then you can see it on the scalp, if You're going to emulsify, but when you get them to the chair, if it's still there, take the towel, a black towel, really good. Wipe it off because it's nice and soft now. It's just soft. It's like a scab, just remove with the water and show them. You still got it up there because it's so thick. I'm going to need you to come in next week and we're going to do the same thing again. And if you keep eating like you are, you're going to keep paying me for treatment. That's just it, right?
Oh, yes. With the she answered one of my questions, but
Oh.
with the dermatitis, if it looks white, like it is like plaster to the scalp, is that still dermatitis?
Okay, so she asked if it's white plaster to the scalp, is that dermatitis? Is more likely psoriasis. So the seborrheic dermatitis always looks like large flakes and yellowish, and sometimes the blood under it and everything. But psoriasis is plastered to the scalp like a old chicken pox. I don't know if y'all had chicken pox.
The other question was, you said if you don't have a steamer, can you do dryer?
If you don't have a steamer, can you use the dryer? Yes, you can. You have to have the hair wet though. Okay, wet first because the heat and the heat and the water is going to make that humidity steam. Okay, but I do recommend you get a steamer. It is the best. Okay, I'm sure Influence will put one on sale for me. I'm just saying. Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Karen, is an itchy scalp a sign of scalp stimulation?
Is an itchy scalp a sign? I mean, an itchy scalp can be I ate too much sugar. It can be you did stimulate it. It can be it's dirty. It can be a lot of things. So that's really a broad spectrum there.
Should we avoid moisture lock on clients with seborrheic dermatitis?
Should we avoid moisture lock on the scalp? Yes. No moisture lock on the scalp. It's a moist, wet product, and the seborrheic is already moist, wet. Fungus loves dark, wet places, so you're gonna make the fungus grow more. Remember, that's Malassezia yeast. It's a yeast.
What system aids with seborrheic dermatitis, and what would you recommend clients to take home?
What was the first part?
What system?
Oh, aids with seborrheic dermatitis. The antiseptic scalp is what's on that screen right now. That aids with the seborrheic dermatitis. The scalp should be clear until it actually clears up. Don't put anything on the scalp until it clears up. It's got to breathe. It's got to dry out. So we have the scalp and skin antiseptic, the deep cleansing shampoo, and then your choice of the sea moss or the organic shampoo.
Is it a good idea to scratch the scalp if it has dandruff?
No, don't scratch with dandruff because if you scratch, you're going to see that red sore under there. You're going to lift up the dandruff when it's a scab and you can lose hair in that area.
Do you charge more for using rosemary growth drops and carbon treatments?
Do I charge more for growth drops? The first time I do the growth drops, it's see how good that is? And then that's it. You're going to buy it after that. So I'm selling it, okay? And the carbon shampoo, if I'm just using shampoo, no. When they leave, they're going to buy it anyway. Okay? Was it another one out here? No? Okay. Okay, so here's the Proplex Reconstructor because a lot of people are asking this about the keratin treatment. I'm getting a lot of questions about that. So this is a keratin treatment and it's not ours because our keratin does not have chemicals in it. Let me say that again. Our keratin does not have the chemical in it. But this was a lady that came to me with the hair coming out. A dermatologist sent her to me because she went there and she said her hair was coming out. And so I had to get a history, did the history on her hair and found out that before she moved from North Carolina, they did a keratin treatment to say this will help you until you can find a stylist moving to Virginia. So I told her it was a chemical. And she said that the stylist told her it was not a chemical. So once it grew out, I showed her the difference. See how the hair is straight on the ends to the right? And then there's her new growth. So she immediately called the stylist while she was sitting in the chair to fuss. But, the stylist said, they told me it wasn't a chemical. Okay, so we have to do our own research for stuff like that. When I sat in the keratin class, I asked, is there any aldehyde, glutaraldehyde, or ethanol in there? And they looked like, who let the chemist in? Okay, so I just did some research on that. I wanted to know what I was putting in the person's hair before I put it in there. And I decided against it because of what they were saying. So they said, no, it's no chemical. Well, actually, aldehyde isn't a chemical until you heat it up to 230 degrees, and then it has a chemical reaction, which is formaldehyde. So that's how they can sell it as chemical free. But when you heat it up with the flat irons, it's going to turn into formaldehyde. And the government says 3% or less is you can say formaldehyde free, but the formaldehyde is actually in there. So her hair was breaking, and she said she went to a stylist, and the stylist told her that she can't get a Proflex treatment because it was keratin, and she already had keratin in her hair. That wasn't what was breaking her hair. It's the straightening agents that was breaking her hair. So I said, no, it's the straightening agents. I'm going to put a Proflex in your hair. And I did the Proflex treatment, and that's her hair when she started number 2. And then number 3, that's her hair after, it grew out of the top. She's 74. And her hair, it did that well, just using that Proplex, the deep cleanser. So when we use the Proplex, we always want to deep cleanse first. So we're going to do 2 deep cleansing shampoos for the Proplex. Rinse it out, towel dry. Once we towel dry it, you're going to take your Proplex, however you like to put it in, a squeeze bottle, a spray bottle, and I prefer the pump. Like the foam, I put it in that and I pump it. When you pump it, it spreads out so nicely. I get great coverage, so I love that. And then I don't have to use cotton around it. Okay, we're going to put them under the dryer about 12 minutes, 12 to 15 minutes or so. After we're drying, you're going to rinse it and rinse it and rinse it. And when you think you've rinsed enough, rinse it 2 more minutes. Okay, we have to rinse all of it out. Rinse it really good. Towel dry it, and we're going to put the hydrating conditioner on. The hydrating conditioner is going to sit on 5 minutes. Sometimes I let it sit 7 minutes, depending on how that person's hair feels. Put them under the dryer if you need to put them under the dryer with that hydrating to really get it to sink in. You're going to rinse that out, and now we're ready to start our styling. Okay, that's the Proplex. That's the treatment for the Proplex. Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Karen, what's the best way to treat psoriasis?
What's the best way to treat psoriasis?
Yes.
Just the treatment of the, you can still use the antiseptic with the psoriasis, the scalp and skin antiseptic, and you can use the deep cleanser the same way.
All right. What conditioner do you recommend for clients with seborrheic dermatitis?
Which conditioner for seborrheic dermatitis?
Yes.
It depends on the hair. So if a person's hair is really dry and you want moisture, you can use the moisturizing conditioner. If it needs water, you can use the hydrating conditioner. You can use the coconut. It depends on the hair because remember, it's not going to the scalp. So it doesn't matter with that. Now we're talking about the hair.
Can seborrheic dermatitis be reversed?
Can seborrheic be reversed? Yes, it can. It's autoimmune, and autoimmune means that your immune system isn't working. So I had a client with seborrheic dermatitis, and I said, you want some color? Get your gut right. And she did, and it went away. So now I can put color in her hair. And a couple of years later, it came back because she started eating bad again. So it can be reversed.
What foods cause seborrheic dermatitis?
That is not an influence question. Unless influence wants me to answer, that is not a question. Who's trying to get me fired? Who is that? No.
How long would you recommend to steam a client after you put antiseptic on?
How long? Once you put the antiseptic on, you can steam them 5 minutes and then put the deep cleanse on top of that and steam it 12 minutes. Okay. Question?
It's my question about the Proplex reconstructor. I see that you said under the dryer 12 to 15 minutes after the deep cleansing shampoos, but also with the hydrating conditioner 5 to 7 minutes, but under the dryer. So is there no steamer being used for this?
That's a great question. That's a good question. Okay, so her question was, do you use the steamer with the Proplex reconstructor? No, you don't. Because the Proplex reconstructor, we really want that to adhere to the hair. We want it to coagulate, just stick in there, right? So the steamer is going to give me some condensation. It's going to make it a little looser. We don't want to do that. So put it under the dryer. And everybody has a dryer. So I know everybody doesn't have a steamer, but I hope everybody has a dryer. I do tell some of my worst clients go run around the block. Yes, ma'am, to dry.
Or not together, but either or.
Can you use the moisturizing conditioner after the Proplex? We recommend that you use the hydrating because the hydrating has the smallest molecule. It's going to sink in the best. So I love the hydrating conditioner. Yes, I love that. I even use the hydrating shampoo. You know, you have some clients that don't come in often and you like, I want to use the shampoo. I'm not going to put my good stuff on her. And then I look up there and everything's good. I'm like, which one I'll pick? Okay. But the hydrating shampoo, I love that shampoo for if the person's hair is super dry and I don't want to put the deep cleanser up there, but I want to cleanse it good. It's like the hydrating is almost like a deep cleanser with the hydration to it. So that's my go-to right there. Okay. Good. All right. So here are the DHT blockers that someone was asking about. We have a plethora. I love this. It's in the rosemary growth serum with the CBD and the lemongrass. And the lemongrass is the follicle strengthener. Remember that in the growth serum. The CBD is that concentrated vitamin E. It's going to help with the capillaries, which capillaries bring blood, and the blood's going to grow hair. Okay, it's natural sea moss fusion shampoo and conditioner. Both have DHT blockers in there. And for anyone out there who just started in my cloud crowd, the DHT blockers is dihydrotestosterone. That is like plaque buildup on the tooth. It will start down into the root of the hair and will eat that little hair up, and the hair starts miniaturizing. Little skinny hairs, that's what DHT is eating it up. Okay, so the DHT blockers, in the rosemary carbon shampoo. It's also in our keratin straightening system clarifying shampoo. I thought he had a question. Okay. The detoxers, we have that deep cleansing shampoo, the It's Natural Sea Moss Fusion, and the carbon shampoo and conditioner. The anti-inflammatory, very important for CCCA. It's Natural Rosemary Shampoo Conditioner, the Rosemary Carbon Shampoo, the Rosemary Growth Serum and CBD, and the Sea Moss Shampoo and Conditioner. So we have it covered. It's covered. I mean, we have it for the hair loss. I've never used any medication for hair loss, and I get hair growth. The hardest thing about the Tricology is getting somebody to do what they're supposed to do. That's the hardest part. Yes, sir.
All right, Miss Karen, should we use a processing cap when using the Proplex treatment?
Yes, with the Proplex treatment, we want to put a plastic cap on. And just like she was asking, if you didn't have a steamer, you have to wet the hair first to keep the moisture in. And yes, we're going to use a plastic cap for Proplex and the conditioner. With the conditioner, if you want to, you don't have to use a cap. It's actually doing a hair mask.
When you do the Proplex treatment, do we only use deep cleansing shampoo? Or
Yes.
is there another one?
No, when you're doing the Proplex, use the deep cleansing shampoo. It's going to remove all the residual buildup. It's going to take out that black castor oil. It's going to take all the oils they mixed at the house, all of that. It's going to take it out.
When a client gets braids, what's the best products to retail to them?
So for a braid package, you can do it according to that person's hair. Mainly if a person is braiding in a long period of time, the rosemary spray is going to be great. The moisture lock can be good for it. The rose water spray, especially because it has a lot of hydration in there. And what else do we have? We have so many lines in there for the braid package. I shampoo braids, so I like the organic shampoo, depending on the person's hair. If they need honey almond, I'm going to use the honey almond shampoo. I'm going to use the foam to rub down to get the flyaways back down and put moisture lock on it. The natural oil, we got a plethora of things.
All right, next question. What type of hair issues is the honey almond good for?
What type of hair issues honey almond is good for? Honey almond is a moisturizing with a little bit of protein in there. So if you have a person with a little breakage, it's like an insurance package, especially for color treated, for people who are taking medications, things like that. For the natural people who think they can do their hair and broke it all off, it's good for that. So you can strengthen it, give them strength while they're going home.
Next question. How do you determine when to use the rosemary line versus the sea moss line when it comes to alopecia?
How do you determine rosemary from sea moss? So if you're trying to stimulate to growth, you're going to use the rosemary. If you're trying to detox because it's frontal fibrosing, you're going to use the sea moss. Then you can use the rosemary right after the sea moss to still stimulate the growth that you just cleansed off.
What can be used as a styling agent on a client with seborrheic dermatitis?
A styling agent, not to the scalp, anything you want to style the hair with. Anything you want to style the hair with, but not to the scalp. Yes, ma'am.
You don't recommend like braids on her person with
Okay. She asked, do I recommend doing braids on a person with seborrheic dermatitis? So I've done box braids with the person with seborrheic. Oh, she comes back in 3 weeks and I shampoo her
with the braids.
with the braids. I shampoo with the braids in. I told her if you don't come in to shampoo it, I'm not going to put braids in there because you're going to lose hair. And I just show them the picture of the person that lost hair with the seborrheic because I got a lot of pictures of seborrheic with holes and there's piles of seborrheic in the hole. So I just show them that picture. They'll come back in and get it shampooed. Great question. Okay. All right. So that is me. We have plenty of time. We got more questions. How many minutes I got, Roz? I did good. 15 minutes? Yes. So, yes, sir.
All right, Miss Karen, for clients with stubborn hair growth, what shampoo would you recommend?
Okay, for a client with stubborn hair growth, the shampoo, you can stimulate them, but you still need to know why their hair is being stubborn. Never heard of stubborn hair growth because your hair is going to grow. If you color that entire hair red, the whole head red, in 2 weeks, you're going to see a little bit of black because you know it's growing. Is it the ends breaking off? What is it? You have to find out why is it not getting length, retaining length.
Next question, is it best to use the Proplex after a relaxer?
Oh no, the Proplex Reconstructor is 2 weeks before a chemical or 2 weeks after the chemical. And if the person's hair is breaking, if you're giving it strength for the chemical, just giving it some good strength, that's fine. But if their hair is breaking, you don't want to put the relaxer in there yet.
What is the age range you can use the DHT blocker lines on?
What's the age range for the DHT blockers? If you're using, like, let's say the CMOS Fusion shampoo, anybody 3 years and up, you can use stuff like that on. The DHT blocking is not going to bother them at all. It's just going to concentrate on getting the hair cleansed and silky.
Is the honey almond line good for clients with relaxers as well as clients with breakage?
Yes, honey almond is good for relaxers, especially if it's you're trying to do a insurance package to make sure that it doesn't break. You want to keep it in healthy condition because it is chemically treated. Yes.
What are the differences between the organic and the honey almond shampoos? What determines when you should use each?
The hair texture is going to determine which one you're going to choose. The difference is the organic shampoo has chamomile and sage, and the honey almond is honey and protein. Those are the differences. Both of them are moisturizing.
All right, next question. Do all the products have the same amount of DHT blockers, or would you say some have more than others?
I would say they have the same. I would think they have the same. I don't think one has more than the other because I don't get a big spurt of growth from a person that I use the rosemary on versus the honey almond. No big difference.
Right. Next question. What do you suggest if a client sheds after using the Proplex?
If a client is shedding after Proplex, as I said, when I had that lady that had it was really bad relaxer, and I did the treatments, and I told her if I've treated you Proplex 2 weeks later, Proplex 2 weeks later, Proplex, and you're still shedding, you're beyond repair. Some chemical reactions are beyond repair, but the Proplex is not causing the shedding unless this person is not telling that they're using protein at home.
How do you know if a client needs moisture or hydration?
How do you know? So a lot of times looking at the hair, it looks dry ash. That's more hydration. If it's just dry to the touch, that's more moisture. Like they're putting, and oils are not moisturizers. Oils are aesthetically pleasing. They're shiners. They seal in moisture. Creams are the moisturizers. Okay. So depends on what it looks like. If it's a dry ash, a lot of times you need drink some water. That's the same thing. Same thing.
How do you know if the hair follicles are viable?
You don't know. You don't know. Even I don't know that. And I have the scope that I look at the scalp and I can see the follicle, But if the hair doesn't grow in there, it's the internal part that's inside. It's them. So you don't know. One of the pictures I have for CCCA, I didn't think I was going to get any hair to grow back, and I got a lot of hair to grow back. I was surprised. So we don't know.
Which shampoo and conditioner is best for relaxed hair?
All of our shampoos and conditioners. All of them.
Which products are good to use to remove buildup for clients with locks?
What's good to use for a buildup?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's the buildup in there? And then it's going to be the deep cleanser, but what would the buildup be? You know, you got to figure out which one are we using. Is it buildup because, like the picture I had, he had seborrheic dermatitis, then I'm going to use the skin and scalp. If it's buildup because of product, then I can use the deep cleanser. So it depends on what the buildup is.
What products should I use for thinning hair in the crown area?
The rosemary line is great for the thinning in the crown area. That's your go-to first start. The OG rosemary. You can use some of the carbon. The carbon is going to give you the cool, but the OG rosemary is going to give you that complete stimulation.
Do you recommend the Proplex for someone who's just combed out locks?
Oh, yes, definitely. Proplex for combing out locks. Yes, that's going to give a good strength. That's the good start right there, especially if they're trying to, some people come out their locks and do a flat iron, especially if you're going to start that, because the Proplex is going to help it stay straight longer.
A client says, as a barber that services 90% males, I deal with dandruff in beards, patches, alopecia, bumps on the facial area, bumps in the back of the scalp, as well as the nape. What products do you suggest I use and sell to my clients?
So the rosemary is great for all of that he just said, especially the bumps in the back. That is inflammation. So the rosemary is going to take down a lot of inflammation. So that's really good. In the beard, you can use the moisture lock, and you also can use the moisturizing activator. The moisturizing activator is so good for coarse hair, even, hair on your head. Really good for that. I love to use the moisturizing activator when I'm trying to soften up that extra hard hair. But the rosemary is your go-to.
What helps with menopausal women experiencing thinning hair?
Menopause. I'm in menopause. That's why I laughed. So menopause and thinning hair. I started to say something wrong. Ross would have fired me. Menopause and thinning hair is definitely going to be the rosemary line because of the stimulation of it. But not only that, the stimulation is going to cool. So when a person feels what we learned in naturopathic doctor school, when a person starts flashing, if they have peppermint and they rub it on them, it'll cool the skin down, and you'll actually the flash will go away. So you can spray the rosemary in the morning before you leave. Isn't that amazing? Man, I love that. Did you see me thinking about it? Oh, God.
Would you relax a client with seborrheic dermatitis?
I'm sorry?
Would you relax a client with seborrheic dermatitis?
No, I would not relax someone with seborrheic dermatitis, because the chemical on that it's like putting a chemical on a sore. It's going to burn. No. They need to get their scalp right first.
Next question, Ms. Karen. Can we combine the sea moss shampoo with the rosemary shampoo as a treatment?
You can combine every product in the line. I love that. When I say don't crossbreed them products, I mean it. You do not put on a Nike with some Adidas. So keep it all together. Yes, you can combine everything. And I mix a lot. I love mixing the rosemary shampoo with our organic shampoo to get a peppermint patty. So, and then the steam is making it smell like that at the shop. I love that. So you can mix it all.
Perfect. Next question. Should you do a Proplex before or after a person with braids?
You can do a Proplex before the braids just to give it strength. And please don't braid tight.
And what's the best package to recommend for a client with constant shedding?
Well, what are they shedding from? So if a person is shedding, the first thing for shedding you want to approach is, why are they shedding? What if they're shedding because they're putting their own relaxers in? I don't care what you recommend to them. It's going to keep shedding. Then they're going to say the product isn't working. But it's not the product. It's the person. So for shedding, if they want to go home, we're going to use our regular conditioner, the Proplex conditioner, Proplex. We're going to do the Proplex, and then we're going to send them home with a multiplex conditioner.
Dr. Bryce, I have a really serious question to ask you.
Okay, she has a serious question. Let me get my mind right. Okay, go ahead.
No, I have a client. I'm a lactation barber. I have a client that is about to go through cancer treatment,
Okay.
and they have beautiful silver microlux.
Mhm.
And we had a few discussions about the process that they're going to go through. So it's going to be 9 months of actual chemo
Mhm.
and radiation.
Okay.
What they are, I started their lives. They've been with me now for 4 years on this journey. What can I do before it, well, if the inevitable does happen and their hair does start to come out? We've already had that discussion.
Okay.
But what can I do for them up until that treatment starts to take place within them to continue to try to help their hair, the hair that's there? Because I know the new hair that's coming in will be the hair that has the cancer treatment.
Mhm.
What can I do for their old hair to help it not, I don't know, I've never had a cancer patient.
So,
So what type of products to use? Because right now I give 3 washes actually. I do the
But
deep condition
you want to know what to do to their hair for what?
to in case it starts or as it starts to break down, like as the hair
Mm.
from the chemo starts to break down.
Oh, okay.
what
So,
to keep encouraging it.
okay, to keep the hair strong while they're going through chemo, basically. Okay, so that's okay. The Proplex will help with that. It's going to give it some strength. Okay, the growth cream is going to give it some strength. Um, the inevitable, of course, is going to happen. Uh, this isn't influence. Everybody, close your eyes and be quiet. Cold cap is for cancer patients. Okay, try to help with the cold cap. But the strengthener, anything in our line that's a strengthener, that's going to be their go-to. The rosemary is going to be so nice to the scalp because and that's why I said the cold cap, because the cold cap is cold to them, right? And it is, the chemo is burning, and that's why the hair comes out. But if you do the rosemary, it feels like cool, and the carbon cool. It's going to help just like a cold cap does. Yeah. You sure? Don't ask me later on how you buy me lunch. You sure? Okay. Okay, so we're done. Everybody's good. Well, I thank you all for joining me so much online, the Cloud Crowd. I hope to see you all at NES 2025, September 20th through the 23rd. All right.